Have you ever tried making a Pharrell beat, but it just ends up sounding like every other YouTube tutorial? That's because most people copy the sounds. Today I'm going to show you how to copy the mindset. What's up guys, it's your boy RGT Ram. By the end of this video you'll see how the Neptunes made their sound. And we'll build a beat from scratch using those ideas. Let's get into it. Before we even touch FL Studio, we need to understand why Pharrell's beats stand out. Most producers try to fill up every second with melodies, pads, and a whole bunch of layers that it doesn't really need. Pharrell does the opposite. He creates space. Every sound has a purpose. When you listen to songs like Grindin' and Drop It Like It's Hot, there's actually a lot less happening than you think. The groove is carrying everything. So today we're following 3 main rules. Rhythm comes before melody. Every sound needs its own space. If it doesn't make you move, delete it. Let's build. Alright guys, we're now in FL Studio. Today we're going to be starting with the drums because that's how the groove gets established. One thing the Neptunes did incredibly well was making drums that felt human instead of robotic. They never worried about making the craziest pattern, they just focused on making your head nod. Today I'm using a dry kick, a snappy rim shot, and percussion that's talking back to the drums. Here's what all the drums sound like together. Notice how I'm leaving some empty spaces. Silence is part of the rhythm. That's one of Pharrell's best kept secrets. As you can see, I moved some notes off grid to add some swing to the track. When doing your drums for Pharrell beats, ask yourself, does this groove make me move without any melody? If the answer is yes, you're ready to move on to the next step. Now we're adding melodies. Today we're using a loop from my boy Thivani and Where You At Han, producer signed to my management, but I think you'll get the idea from what I'm trying to say. Pharrell rarely writes complicated melodies. Instead, he finds the one memorable idea and repeats it. Today, the repeating idea throughout this track is the guitar in the loop. Here's what it sounds like. The goal is to make it instantly recognizable. The rest of these sounds are just there to accent the rest of that guitar melody. For these beats, even 5 melodies can be too much, but we have a lot of space, so I gave each and every single one of these its own moment. That right there is the Pharrell mindset. Another reason Neptune's beats sound so expensive is because every sound has its own identity. They weren't afraid to use strange synths, vintage keyboards, and even toy-like sounds. When every instrument occupies its own frequency, the beat feels bigger without being crowded. Sometimes replacing one sound is better than adding 5 more. Here's what all the melodies sound like together. Here's what all the melodies sound like together. Here's what the final beat sounds like. Alright, so let's recap. If you want your beats to sound like Pharrell, don't chase the sounds. Study the philosophy. Remember things like the groove comes first, simplicity wins, space is an instrument, and every sound has a job. If you learned something today, hit that like button and subscribe because I'm breaking down more legendary producers every week while making industry level beats from scratch. I'm RGT Ram and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.